I grew up in a town so quiet you could hear the clock ticking from the other side of the room. That wasn't a metaphor. It was just how things were. We sat between two highways no one used anymore, tucked behind fields that never grew anything tall. No factories, no bars, one school, one grocery store, one gas station with a bell on the door that jingled like it was embarrassed to exist. People used to joke that if you screamed in our town, the sound would echo for miles. Turns out they were wrong. The first thing we noticed wasn't silence. It was the way sound started to misbehave. It began small, subtle enough that you'd second-guess yourself. My dad was the first to mention it. We were eating dinner when he stopped mid-sentence, fork hovering in the air. "Did you hear that?" he asked. I listened. "Nothing? Hear what?" He frowned. "Exactly." He tapped his fork against the plate. "Metal on ceramic?" A sharp sound. Only, it wasn't sharp. It was dull, like it had traveled through something thick before reaching our ears. Mom laughed it off. "You're tired." But over the next few days, it kept happening. The bell at the gas station door stopped ringing. Dogs barked without noise. A car horn went off at an intersection, and everyone turned to look not because it was loud, but because it looked wrong. The driver's face was red, mouth open, fists slamming the steering wheel. Nothing came out. By Friday, people were whispering, and by Sunday, no one was speaking above a murmur. The town council called an emergency meeting at the school gym. Folding chairs, flickering lights, the usual panic in small place energy. The mayor stood at the podium and cleared his throat. No sound. He tried again. Nothing. He leaned closer to the microphone. Still nothing. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously, but the laugh came out flat, lifeless, like air escaping a tire. That's when people realized it wasn't random. Sound wasn't disappearing evenly. It was being taken. The louder you were, the less came back. The first person to test that theory was a man named Carl Bender. Carl had a temper and a voice like gravel. When his wife tried to shush him in the grocery store, he snapped. "I'm not whispering in my own damn town," he yelled it, or tried to. The words left his mouth and vanished halfway across the aisle. Carl froze. His face went pale. He screamed again. Nothing. No echo. No distortion. Just absence. He dropped to his knees, clutching his throat, making these horrible, silent, gagging motions like he was drowning in air. They took him to the hospital. He never came back. After that, people stopped risking it. We learned to communicate with looks, notes, hand signals, text messages on when standing 10 feet apart. The weirdest part wasn't the silence. It was what filled it. At night, when the town should have been dead quiet, there was something else. A low pressure. A sense that the air itself was listening. You could feel it when you exhaled too hard. When a floorboard creaked under your foot and you waited heart-pounding to see if anything answered. Nothing ever did. But the next morning, someone would be gone. No screams? No struggle? Just an empty house and a phone left behind, locked on the last message they'd typed, but never sent. By the end of the first week, nearly half the town had left. Those who stayed did so out of stubbornness, fear of the unknown, or because they physically couldn't leave. My family stayed because my mom refused to drive. She said the engines sounded wrong. I didn't argue. None of us did much arguing anymore. The night it happened to us started with a knock. A soft one, barely audible. 3 taps. I remember my dad looking at the door and shaking his head slowly. No one knocked anymore. I stood up anyway. He grabbed my arm, eyes wide, pleading silently. I shrugged him off and walked to the door. When I opened it, no one was there, just the porch light humming faintly, and a folded piece of paper on the ground. I picked it up. 4 words, written carefully. It hears breathing. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, counting my breaths, terrified that one of them might be too loud. Around 3 a.m., I felt it. The pressure, like standing underwater without the water. The walls seemed closer, the ceiling lower, and then I heard something I hadn't heard in days. A sound, a single, quiet one. My name, not spoken, exhaled, right outside my door. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The doorknob turned slowly. No creak, no click, just motion. The door opened a few inches. I saw nothing, but I felt it. Leaning in, learning the shape of me in the dark. After a long moment, the door closed. The pressure lifted. Morning came. My parents were gone. No signs of a struggle. No notes, no phones. Just 2 empty chairs at the table and the clock still ticking too loudly for a town that no longer deserved sound. I left that day, packed light, walked out without starting the car until I was miles away. The town disappeared behind me, swallowed by fields and sky. Years have passed. Sound still exists where I live now. But sometimes late at night when everything goes quiet, I catch myself holding my breath, because I swear, in the silence between heartbeats, something is still listening. Before you scroll away, listen to the room around you and subscribe.